So good afternoon, everyone. This is Nancy Montoya. Many of you know me as the Treasury Tribal Affairs Program Coordinator. I'd like to thank you for joining us this afternoon. We are here to provide information on the Emergency Rental Assistance Program's quarterly reporting and compliance this afternoon. This afternoon, we're going to focus on the technical aspects of ERA reporting, the Emergency Rental Assistance Program reporting. So we're going to be limiting our questions today to those that relate directly to the mechanics of reporting on this program. If you have policy issues that need to be addressed, or you have those types of questions, we're going to kindly ask that you send those to the emergency rental assistance at treasury.gov email box, and we'll respond to them from there. But in the meantime, I would like to introduce my colleague, Jim Gatz, who's with the reporting team that's going to lead you into the information session.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Nancy. I'm Jim Gatz. I work with the Treasury Department and just have a few things to say to kind of introduce the call today. First, again, as Nancy mentioned, we're here to work with you and to help assist you in this work. And so if you have questions about anything about the ERA program, please go to the Treasury website. That's treasury.gov/ERA. There's quite a lot of information about the program posted there. It includes the ERA reporting guidance, the portal user guide, all of which are really vital to you as you think about your quarterly reports. But in general, if you have questions that are not covered in those guidance documents, be sure to send us an email at emergencyrental.assistance@treasury.gov. Oops. So, as I mentioned, the reporting guidance is a key document that you should be familiar with or become familiar with. It provides a full overview of the reporting requirements relevant for tribal governments and tribally designated housing entities and the Department of Hawaiian Homelands that have received ERA awards. The guidance provides information on required reporting, including things such as submission deadlines and the required data that you need to report on your quarterly reports, and also about the required information that's needed in terms of your subrecipients that'll be part of your quarterly reports. So also, encourage you to take a look at the appendix of the reporting guidance. It's has quite a few details that'll nitty-gritty details that will be helpful for you to think about the reports and how to pull together information that you need. In addition to the reporting guidance, there are several other resources to assist recipients as you pull together your quarterly reports. These include, there's a user guide that provides step-by-step guidance on submitting the reports. It helps recipients know how to use Treasury's portal. There's a data dictionary that provides in-depth information about the different data elements that you'll be reporting. There's a questions and answer document that addresses a lot of reporting topics, the types of questions and answers that we've been getting from other recipients and the answers we've been providing. There's instructions on registering to access the Treasury's portal. That's a very important thing that you have to do at the very beginning to make sure you're able to get into the portal. There's a hints and tips document on how to designate points of contact at your organization so that they can do the reporting for you. There's a worksheet for compiling information to prepare to submit your reports. Now let's talk a little bit about reporting. And by the way, this information that we're covering today is all included in the Section 2 of the ERA reporting guidance, that key document that help you take a few minutes to become familiar with. First, very first thing I want to clarify, kind of a common question that we're getting, is that tribes are not required to submit monthly reports. The states and localities and the territories that are receiving ERA funds are required to submit a 2-question monthly report, but tribes are not. That's not relevant for tribes. Tribes do not have to submit the monthly reports. But tribes, like all other ERA recipients, must submit quarterly reports. And generally, the quarterly reports are due on the 15th of the month following the calendar quarter. But given that we are in the early stages of the ERA program, Treasury decided to kind of merge the first 3 quarters and have them all, those reports for all those quarters due together on October 29th this year. So that's where we're standing in terms of the due dates for the reports. But they're all the reports that are due on October 29th. That'll be your quarter 1 report, which covers from the date of your award through March 30th, 2021. The quarter 2 report, which covers the activities from April 1st through June 30th, and then the quarter 3 report, which covers activities through from July 1st through September 30th, 2021. And as you may know, that the authorizing legislation gave Treasury the ability to give some flexibility to tribes, the TDHEs, and the Department of Hawaiian Homelands in terms of the reporting that's required under the statute. And so one element that tribes and TDHEs and the Department of Hawaiian Homelands are not required to report, but others do, is that other recipients report quite a bit of information about the demographic characteristics of their participants. And that's quite a burdensome thing. And we felt like it was important to add flexibility for you all so you don't have to do that. And now just a few words about logging into Treasury's portal. ID.me is an online security system that verifies people's identification. And it's the system that Treasury uses to ensure that grantee information remains secure. We use ID.me to ensure that the people who access our system are really the people who need to access it. So currently, all individuals that need access to Treasury's portal must use ID.me to receive login credentials. And there's a 3-step process to register with ID.me and receive verified credentials from ID.me to get into the portal. That process takes about 10 minutes for most people. And instructions on how to do it are available on Treasury's site at the link listed here on the screen. I also want to mention that we need to just talk about one more item in terms of access to the portal for getting ready to submit your quarterly reporting. Each ERA recipient is required to designate staff who will have the authority to submit their quarterly reports for them. Now, as shown on the screen, there are sort of three roles that we've set up for each of the recipients. They need staff who could become an account administrator, a point of contact, an official point of contact for reporting, and an authorized representative for reporting. These are important roles that each ERA recipients need to designate staff as those roles so that Treasury can know who to contact at your organization if there are questions about the reporting, or who to contact at your organization to remind you about upcoming reporting, things like that. Now, I've been told that a vast majority of the tribes and TDHEs and the Department of Hawaiian Homelands have already done these designations. So if that's so of your organization, then you're all set. But if your organization has not yet submitted the designations, it'd be important for you to do that soon so that it'll help in terms of when we get closer to the deadline for submitting your quarterly reports. And of course, each of these people who are designated in any of these three roles would need to be registered with the ID.me system. So now we're going to turn to our demonstration of Treasury's portal and walk through your reports. When you log into the system, you will be provided information in several sections, which are listed here. There's information about the point of contact designations. We'll list the names of the people who are your organization's points of contact. There's a recipient profile where we ask for information about your organization and the work that it's doing in terms of emergency rental assistance. There's a section on projects. There's a section on reporting about subrecipients and subawards. Those are the organizations that you might make grants to help you with your work. There's a section on demographics where we ask for information about the numbers of participants you have, the types of services that you're providing them, things like that. And then there's a section on performance and financial reporting. And then finally, there's that official certification and submission where you submit your report. And if you look at section 3 of the reporting guidance, which I mentioned earlier, you'll learn a lot about, much more about each of these sections. So now I wanted to turn the mic over to Peggy Johnson, who's with us and has helped put together the reporting portal. Peggy?
Let me just unmute, that might be helpful, and share my screen. Hello, everyone. Let me just get my screen shared, and we're going to just start at the very beginning. Can everyone see my screen all right? Jim, does it look okay?
Looks great, Peggy.
Okay, great. So when you log in and you go to your report, it will be listed in a list view on a home page. And as soon as you click on it, you're going to come in to the tabs that Jim just showed you. So you've got your recipient profile, then projects, demographics, performance and financial report, and your certification. As you log in, the first page that will open up will be your recipient profile. As you scroll down, you're going to see the information as you can see on my screen. So all of this information is already provided for you. It's the information that we gathered about you during the application process. So it's really just a matter of verification. As you can see where I clicked on the little I, any place you see the I will give you a little bit more information about that particular field. You're not going to need to do anything here. The only thing that is an entry field is this DUNS +4 field. So if you know your +4 for your DUNS number, you would enter it right here. Other than that, it's just for your information, for you to verify this information. As you can see, this is a test record, so it's just got some basic test information in there. There is a place for you to report any discrepancies. So if you look and the address is wrong, it should be Altoona, Pennsylvania. You would simply type that in and we'll receive that information and be able to update your record. Over to the right, is the recipient registered in sam.gov? If you are, simply change it to yes. If you are not, you're going to click no. And then it's going to ask you some additional information. Simply answer these questions. And as you can see, once you click yes, if that's the case, you don't need to add any more information. If you were to click no, for example, in this question, some of the other questions go away. But it just leads you through, simply answer the questions and you'll get through that part. As you scroll down, you'll be able to see all of the people that have been added so far. So anyone that you've added as your point of contact for reporting, or an authorized representative, or an account administrator will be listed right here so that you can see all of the people that you currently have registered as a point of contact. Now you have two choices. You could simply click Save. You can also click Next and it will take you to the next section. And you can also simply click on the tabs. So lots of different options for navigating through the system. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and click Next. And as you can see, it will still save my changes. So if you made changes to that recipient profile page, as soon as you click Next, it will save those changes for you. On this screen, you're going to see a couple of things. First of all, you have some icons. They're going to step you through the process of what you need to do next. So first thing you need to do is identify your project. In this case, it's going to give you some information that's already been gathered for you in this top section. So it's going to show you your project information. As you continue to scroll down, you now have some entry fields available. So you would put in your project ID. This is a project ID that you submit. So you're going to create your own just so you have something for your own reference. You can name your project if you like. Well, you'll need to name it, but you can add a name for the project. You can add a website if there is one. And as you continue to scroll down, you're going to see some other information. So in this case, it's provide a narrative, 12,000 characters or less, describing your system for prioritizing assistance. It is a required field. You can see that by the asterisk right here. Wherever there is a red asterisk, it is required information. And as you can see, this is really helpful information, lorem ipsum dollar. So simply type in the information and it will allow up to 12,000 characters. Below that, if there is a required document, you can simply upload your documents. There are a couple of different options when you need to upload a file. You can click on the link and it will open and allow you to grab a file directly from your system and add it into the record. Or you can simply drag and drop files into this section. Once you have added a file, you will see it listed below so that you can view you can view the uploaded file, you can see whatever it was that you ended up uploading. So a very simple process to add files as necessary. As we continue to scroll down, you have a place for a project description. Again, it gives you some information around what is it that we want to see, and it allows you to add 12,000 characters. It has some additional questions. Note as well that there is no asterisk next to the project description or the use of fact-based proxies for determining eligibility. So add the information if you have it. If not, it can always be added at a later time, or you can skip anything that does not have the asterisk. If yes to, so sometimes we have conditional formatting kinds of questions. So in this case, if you had answered no, there is no place for that additional question. In some cases, if you answer yes, then it's going to ask you for a bit more information. At the end of this whole process, you can simply save your project and it will be saved right down at the bottom. So if at any time you need to edit this particular project, you can change the information added up above, simply click save and it will update your project. For ERA, you only have the one project, so you don't need to do anything else and your project is all set. I'm going to click on that project. And I could also click next right here as before. And now we can create our subrecipients. So if subrecipients were given any kind of information or were given any money, if you provided subrecipients or subawards, this is where we would enter this information. It's very simple. You can load the information right here. You would add a subaward number, a subaward type, and your choices are things like delivery order, blanket purchase agreement, the loan, whether or not it's a lump sum payment, if it's a purchase order. you can add this information regarding your subaward. Note as well that every place there's a required field, you will get to complete this field with the red outline once you click into that particular field, just indicating that this is in fact a required field. Some of the other information we're looking for would be the subaward obligation, the date, the period of performance with the start and end. I'm going to skip subrecipient for now. I'm going to come back to this in just a second. The place of performance address, the place of performance city, state, zip, zip +4, and the place of performance country. Now, if we come back over here, a subrecipient is required. So there's a couple of ways that you can add a subrecipient. You can click create a subrecipient, and then you can add the subrecipient DUNS, and it will automatically search for that subrecipient if they've already created them. Or I can manually create a subrecipient. Subrecipient information is fairly simple. It's basically just information regarding the location. So you're just identifying that subrecipient. You have a pick list for the type. Is it a county government? Is it a regional organization? Is it a nonprofit? Is it a small business or other? So lots of options in here, but it tells you what you're looking for. As we continue to scroll down, you're going to be looking for the legal name. And then once again, you're going to find out whether or not the subrecipient is registered with sam.gov. Just like you saw on the recipient page, if you answer no, it's going to ask you for some additional identifying information. However, if you select yes, that would close this section and that would be all you need. Once you've completed, and do note that it requires a DUNS and a TIN to be able to create a subrecipient. Once you've created all of that information, you would simply click Create Subrecipient. In this case, I'm not going to do it right at the moment because just for time's sake, but I also want you to note that you can create subrecipient down or bulk uploads. So if you have a number to add all at one time, you can download a subrecipient template, complete all of the information in the template, and simply upload all of your subrecipients at one time. To note that when you download this subrecipient template, which I won't spend a lot of time on, but if you look at the subrecipient template, it's going to have all of the same fields you're seeing here, except in a format that you can open and enter all of the information through an Excel document. Please note as well that when you open it, it will be in an Excel document, but when you save and provide that document, it will need to be saved as a CSV file before you can upload it. It has the same information that you saw in that manual information, but you can just add rows of data and then upload that data to make it simpler for you, as opposed to having to enter those individually if there are a number of them. Closing that file. Let me just get it out of our way. Okay, there's a brief description for the subaward of 750 characters. Please note as well that once you complete all of that information, you can simply create the subaward once it's completed. Down here, you can also bulk upload all of your subawards. So once you've completed your subrecipient, that would be your order. You would need to do your subrecipients first. Then you're going to create your subawards, and those need to be linked to that subrecipient. So you would put in the identifier, the DUNS number for the subrecipient, and the subaward bulk upload would require those DUNS numbers to be entered as well. If you note down at the bottom, here are subawards that have already been created. Once you bulk upload, for example, a number of subawards, those will all be listed right here in your file. So you'll see a number of different subawards that have been generated. The next step then, and I'm just going to copy one, would be to come over to our next page, which is our expenditures page. When you get to expenditures, there are a couple of areas that you have to enter your expenditures. If expenditures are greater than 30,000, then you would put in your subaward, and you can just simply use the search right here to search for your subaward. I'm going to enter mine since I just saved it and search. I'm going to enter my subaward, which is going to automatically populate that subaward number. It's going to also populate the subaward type and the subrecipient name, all from that subaward that you've already created. You would enter your expenditure start, your expenditure end, the expenditure amount, and the expenditure category. So was it for rent or rent arrears or utility and energy costs? And these are your choices for your expenditures. The only thing that you can add to the project itself and not include a subaward ID is if it's administrative costs. Administrative costs can be linked without a subaward ID directly back to the project. If you scroll down, you're also going to see that once you've entered any administrative costs, you also need to add a narrative to tell us what was that administrative cost for. Note as well, we have expenditure uploads. So for example, if you want to create that expenditure, so let's say I completed all of these fields, I simply click create and it will add it to the list down below. If you want to do a bulk upload again, because you had a number of greater than $30,000 expenditures, you can do the bulk upload. Again, it will download that file for you. You enter all of the information in your file, simply add it to the bulk upload, which is just adding a file. It looks like this. You simply upload your file. Once you've downloaded it, added all of the information, you're going to upload that file. A quick note that you can run into issues when you do upload a file, and that is simply if any of the required fields are missing or any of that. For example, if your expenditure start period, for example, was in 2018, it's going to throw an error. So you can run into some errors when you're doing the bulk uploads if in fact any of the data does not fit the categories. So for example, if your expenditure category wasn't what was listed here. However, we do give you that information in the download file, exactly what this needs to say. So it's very helpful. As we continue to scroll down, the next section that we have is our aggregate disbursements less than $30,000. If it's less than $30,000, it does not require nearly as much information as your greater than $30,000. There's simply the category, the subaward type. So what is the type of category? What is your expenditure category? And then finally, what was the total quarterly expenditure and what was the total quarterly obligation amount? Again, only if it's an administrative cost, do you need to also add the narrative. You can also create your expenditures. You can bulk upload those as well. So if you have a number of them to add, you simply download the template, add your information all at one time to the template, and upload the template as we've demonstrated before. Finally, on this page, as far as the types of expenditures that need to be added, you would have the aggregate disbursements to individuals. Looks very much like the one right above for your under $30,000. And again, this would be disbursements to individuals that are less than $30,000. You would again have, in this case, just an expenditure category, the amount, and the total obligation. Again, for administrative costs, it needs to include a narrative to explain what the administrative cost was for. Nothing is necessary for the other types of costs, simply the administrative cost. Again, from the ones that have already been loaded during these test files, you can see the information, which these actually wouldn't have been able to have been added here because they are greater than 30,000, but these are simply test records. And you can see that once they're added, they will display for you down below. Okay, should I stop here, Jim, for just a moment and answer any questions? Do we want to review any questions to this point, or do you want me to continue?
I think it's best to keep going. Peggy,
Okay.
we might need to come back once we get into the Q&A session.
Certainly. Okay, I'm going to just click go back, and that's going to take me back to this page. And believe me, the rest of it is a lot simpler. That part is by far the most complicated. But if we get over, we're going to come over now to demographics. This is a very simple page. All you're going to have to do is simply go through number of unique households that completed and submitted an application for ERA assistance. These are all based on this quarter. So you don't need to put in a total number. You're simply adding the number for this quarter. So it's quarterly reporting. The number of applicants, your number of unique households that received ERA assistance, the number of unique households that received their initial ERA assistance in the current reporting period. So those who have not received have not received any assistance previously. Then you have it broken down, basically number of unique households that received ERA assistance by type, which would include rent, rental arrears, emergency or energy bills, energy arrears, etc. The total amount that was paid to or for participant households. And then as we continue to scroll down, now we're getting into award activity during the quarter, the total dollar amount of ERA awards funds obligated, approved, that have been obligated, expended, and as you can see, the other fields. The questions also have some additional information. So if you have any questions, you can always mouse over the little I and it will give you additional information as to what information is being required. Once you've completed all of that information, again, you can click Save or simply click Next, and it will also save the information. And that will take us over to your performance and financial report. In this section, you're going to put in a performance narrative. This is concerning the performance and accomplishments of the subject during the reporting quarter. Again, you've got notes, activities implemented, activities planned. So it gives you some good information as to the type of information that should be included. You can type in information here. You can also upload documents. As we continue down, you have a narrative on effective practices. So you would put in, you provide describing your effective practices for administering the ERA programming. And you can simply type it in, as well as you have the opportunity to do an upload as well. As we continue down, now you have your federal financial reporting. In this case, you would upload a signed copy of your SF 425 form. Again, the upload is very simple. You can either click or you can simply drop the file and it will accept it. It also, in addition to uploading the file, it is requested that you provide your current quarter obligations, your current quarter expenditures, cumulative obligations to date, and your cumulative expenditures to date. As you click Next, in this case, as you get to the next field, you are at certifications. So you're now certifying the information that you have provided. Now it's going to populate the information for the person who is currently signed in. If this is not an authorized representative for reporting, and you could go back and look right here to see who all of your authorized people are. But if you are not the authorized representative for reporting, which I'm signed in as Jim, and he is authorized, he would be able to submit this report. However, if you have a different person that's doing the reporting and then someone else is the authorizer who's going to come in and verify all of the information, the point of contact for reporting does not have the authority to submit this report. So what would happen is back here on certification, if someone else was logged in, if they could click the submit form and they would get an error that would tell them that basically you are not authorized to submit this report. So only those people who are authorized may submit. Now, when you set them up, however, you can give them multiple roles. So for example, Jim could be the provider of the information. He could be the reporter as well as the authorizer. So that is certainly up to you and what roles you choose to assign any particular person. And that, I believe, Jim, will take you back to questions and answers. I'll leave this up for now in case we need to refer to anything. Does that make sense?
I think that makes sense.
Okay.